It going. Okay, come over here. So I take pictures from the video and then we make it into a thumbnail.
Oh yeah?
So which kind of thing do you... I normally do something like... Are you mocking me?
Yes.
Act kind of like you're curious.
This is my curious face.
I like lean in like this and like look behind you.
My whole job is to make you so you fail at your job. That's my job. To make it so you fail. And then your job is to make it so I fail. You know?
This is the first time me hearing about this. I'm Sophia Lovelace and I do not support the message of drop kicking kids. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the black-eyed children again. Since you guys have really liked my last video and you've actually been asking me to do more. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna share 5 more creepy stories. One of them told by my brother, who is dancing behind the camera trying to distract me. What are you doing?
The Macarena.
Oh.
Hey,
okay.
Macarena.
But before we get started, I'm Sophia Lovelace and I post about ghosts, ghouls, anything creepy and cool. So if any of that stuff interests you, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below to be notified when I have new uploads. Also, when you're down there, make sure to hit the bell icon to be one of the first people notified when I have a new upload. And a side note about that, a lot of you guys have actually been clicking that notification bell, and it makes me super happy and super excited that you guys love my content so much that you want to be one of the first people notified when I have a new upload. That's just amazing. So before we continue on the black-eyed children stories, I just have a few updates to update you on. So last video, which was my Myrtle's Plantation video where I showed evidence of one of their ghosts, Chloe, at the site, and in that video I talked about reaching 500 subscribers. Well, by the time this video goes up, I will be at 550 subscribers. So in a week, I will have gained 50 subscribers. So I'm at 548 right now, and I'm gaining about 2 to 5 subscribers a day. So that's really exciting. Thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. Since my brother has been, you might as well just come and sit down for this because you're distracting me.
Hell yep. That's my whole job as a brother.
Probably. That's probably a requirement.
Hey, you're supposed to distract me while I do stuff, and I'm supposed to distract you while you do stuff. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably distracting you from doing homework right now.
I don't have homework.
Now I talked about this in my last black-eyed children's video, which has now reached 3,000 views, which is super exciting. First video on my channel to reach 2,000 is now at 3,000 views. That's just insane. In that video, I talked about some theories surrounding the black-eyed children. So if this is your first video of mine that you're watching, I'm still going to discuss what are some of the theories of these children. Now, the common stories of the black-eyed children is that people have reported seeing children with black eyes and their entire eye is black. So they don't have any white part of their eye, no colored part of their eye, it's just pure black. And these children are said to go to people's doors and ask to use their telephone, or they go up to people's cars and they ask for a ride. But regardless, these children always approach people and ask for something. And it is not 100% clear, since no one's let them in and survived. No one knows what these children are actually doing if you let them inside your house. So that adds to the disturbingness of the black-eyed children, and that's why people are so afraid of them. And like I said in my previous video, that black-eyed children sightings are on the rise in the UK. So you're more likely to see them than you were before. And this urban legend started in the 1990s. And I also mentioned in my previous video that it was officially part of creepypasta lore. So if you don't know what creepypasta is, it is the website that created Slender Man and Jeff the Killer and a bunch of other fake stories. The owners of creepypasta decided that the black-eyed children were going to be put into their lore with Slender Man, with Jeff the Killer, a bunch of other fake stories. But the person who first reported black-eyed children actually contacted those people and said, please take it down because those stories are 100% true, unlike the other stories on creepypasta. So it was officially part of creepypasta, but then it was taken down because it's apparently 100% true. Now this brings into the question, what are these black-eyed children? So there is so many theories out there about the black-eyed children, some believing that they're vampires, some believing that they're time travelers, some believing that they're extraterrestrial aliens, some believing that they're demons. And even though these theories sound so different from each other, and the characteristics of these creatures are very different from each other, these black-eyed children, you can make a very good argument for each of these theories. Also, these children are reported to have clothing that doesn't necessarily reflect our modern time period. Usually from what I heard, they usually tend to wear clothes that from like the 1960s. So first on this list is going to be read by, have I introduced you yet?
I don't think you have.
Oh no. So this is my brother. This is my
dude.
Obviously younger brother. So he wants to share his super creepy story and his opinions on the super creepy story, because that was another thing about my last video, is that you guys were actually asking my opinion if I believe that the black-eyed children are real or not. Well, he's gonna share his opinion. Well, then I'll share mine.
No, share yours first, because I want to hear your opinion on this whole creepypasta of black-eyed.
Do I believe black-eyed children are real? Probably not. I am not going to say that they are fake. But I feel like, because a lot of them happen during Halloween, that they're probably just teenagers pulling pranks. Doesn't make it any less terrifying? Absolutely not. But I don't think that we're dealing with a supernatural here. It's still pretty spooky, so that's why I'm going to continue to make videos on them, because they are pretty spooky stories, and I do feel really scared for the people sharing their stories, because they are pretty terrifying experiences, but I don't necessarily yet believe that it's a supernatural or extraterrestrial paranormal phenomenon. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to stop posting videos about them, because it's still entertaining and it's still pretty spooky, these stories. So
there's also the video that she gets clicks on, so that's why she's doing another one.
That's not false. Alright, so let's share your story, Caleb.
Okay, so this story comes from Jake. So, black-eyed kids, the mere idea of them terrifies me. I didn't used to. In fact, I didn't understand what the big deal was. I don't know why. I mean, I read the online stories about the black-eyed kids, just like everyone else, but I didn't have such a bad reaction like so many other people did when about reading about them. So I embarked on a quest to show people how unscary these things were. I began doing a lot of research online, looking up at paranormal sites, watching scary YouTube videos, probably Sophia's, about black-eyed kids. And from everything I gathered, they found you. You didn't find them, and it seemed like it was pretty much just by chance if they did find you. So what was I supposed to do? I came up with a plan. I began putting up an anonymous ad on Craigslist. It read, "Black-eyed kids, I'm not afraid of you. I want to meet you 9 p.m. Wednesday, the park bench on the corner of 3rd and Washington. Show me why I am wrong and I should be afraid." Like, this is stupid. Like, why would you give someone literally the area where you live? You know, there could be creepy people. The bench was only like a block from my apartment. So every Wednesday, I would walk down there and see if anything or anyone came by. I usually wouldn't sit there. I would stand back and watch. I know the internet can track some nuts, and it did. Occasionally nothing exciting enough to write about though. You know, just kids joking around. So when this went on for about 6 months, and then I stopped posting the ad. The week I stopped, I got a knock on my door. I was sitting on my couch, and it was a little after 9 p.m. I didn't know how to explain it, but the second I heard the knock, my skin went ice cold. I didn't need to get up. I knew who it was, and much to my surprise, I was terrified already. Bro, it could be your grandmother just saying, hey, I baked some pie, you want some?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I was wrong about not being afraid of black-eyed kids. The fear is on a different level and an instinctual, primal level. But still, I managed to get up and open the door. And yep, there was a kid. About 9 years old. Can I come in? He said.
Why is he British?
Why not?
Okay. Valid enough. Valid enough.
And I began closing the door. We missed you at the park tonight, the boy said. I stopped closing the door. I looked at him, my mind racing. The boy smiled up at me. It took everything I had to make my arm move again. Or you can go on an extreme offense and just drop kick that kid.
We're not, okay, this is a non-drop kick a kid channel.
Okay.
I'm Sophia Lovelace, and I do not support the message of drop kicking kids.
I sat back against my wall, facing the closed door. Knock, knock, knock. He was still there. I waited. Nothing. Took me at least an hour to move from the spot, staring at the door.
What do you think about that? Do you think it's real?
No.
No? No, do you think any black-eyed children's story is real?
Well, depending on what it is. Well, okay, so the reason why this story I don't think is real is because he says that he's been going there every Wednesday for about a month. So someone could have followed him to his apartment.
Now I'm going to be sharing 4 creepy stories that I have. The first story is, or I guess the second story, survival story. I helped them once. Never ever, under any circumstances, do it. I'm not sure what they do, but it feels as if they are ripping your soul out. They get really close to you, and you get amazingly drowsy. And if it weren't for my girlfriend showing up mid-invasion and kicking them out, I probably would be dead. I didn't even see the black eyes until I let them in. They're getting smarter. So that story is interesting from most other stories that I'm going to be sharing tonight or in this video compared to my other video, because this person actually let the black-eyed children into their home, which is very interesting because that very rarely happens. And as he stated, he believes that they were trying to take his soul. So that's pretty spooky, pretty disturbing there. Number 3 in this video is titled Black-Eyed Grandparents. Now, I decided to include this story because it's very interesting, because so often we hear about black-eyed kids. However, this is more rare, but it has been some sightings of black-eyed adults. And some of the stories are actually pretty disturbing. And especially this one, even if it isn't a black-eyed grandparent, it's just a troubling story in general. So that's why I thought I would share it with you guys today. So for a bit of scene setting, it was in 1996 or 97, and I lived in a fairly old house with a cemetery at the end of the road. Cliche, I know, but it's an important detail. Nothing remarkable about this house or the area it was in. It was just convenient for college. I was up late one night on my PC in my bedroom when I looked out onto the street. It was about 2 or 3 a.m. For whatever reason, probably to give my eyes a rest, I wandered over to the window and looked down the road in the direction of the cemetery, although it was too far down the street for me to see, and I saw 3 people walking slowly down the road. I could see that they were quite old and appeared to be dressed in funeral clothes, which given the hour was weird. There were 2 women and a man. I'd put their ages around 80, and the woman in the middle was being steadied/carried by the other woman and the man, and as they came closer, I got the impression that she was upset. My first thought was that given her age, she had recently buried her husband, and grief had caused her to behave slightly irrationally, causing her to try to be out near the cemetery at that hour, and that the two were friends/relatives trying to look after her and get her home. Just outside the front of the house was a street lamp. I watched them as they made their way past, but when they got to the lamppost, they all stopped, and the upset woman in the middle looked up at me and grinned. This was when things got weird. The grin became a sort of grimace, and if there was any color in her face to start with, it was now dead white. At that point, I realized I was staring right back into her eyes. Her eyes were pitch black. I was suddenly hit with an intense feeling of dread and panic, so I threw myself on the floor. As soon as I broke her gaze, I felt pretty stupid that this upset old woman who clearly needed help had spooked me so bad. She looked out the window again, and then they had disappeared. That is very interesting. And she also claims that the street was pretty straightforward. It's not like they could have hidden anywhere. It's not like they could have just, ran down the street. So it was kind of as if they just disappeared. The next story on this list is Theyre On My Balcony. So I'm walking up my flights of steps to get to my apartment, and I hear these kids laughing, and then I heard whispering. It was kind of late, so I thought this was weird, but I ignored it and walked into my apartment. I live on the 3rd floor. I was getting ready to open my balcony door. It was really muggy in my apartment. I walked over to the door and pulled my blinds, and 2 kids were staring back at me. I screamed and backed away, smashing my leg into the table. They were both in blue jeans, and the oldest had a green shirt with white stripes on it, and the younger had on a blue button-up shirt. The oldest one touched the sliding door. "Hey miss, can you let us in?" The younger one just kept looking around. I still just stared at them. I finally was able to say, "How did you get on my balcony?" I walked to the door and noticed how excited the older one got, and he moved closer to the entrance. "Can you let us in?" Their eyes were black, the entire eye. Quickly locked the door and told them I had to call the police because my door was jammed and I couldn't unlock the door. So I called the police. The oldest boy pleaded with me the entire time to let him in. The police arrived about an hour ago. When they opened the balcony door, nothing was there. Saw the 2 children, and they were running in the parking lot away from the building. The police took a report and said that they had to get some more information.
Well, that's just creepy.
It is pretty creepy because how did they get on the balcony? And she lives on the 3rd floor, so they must have climbed.
Well, they could be. They could turn into bats since they're almost like vampires.
It's true. It's true. So that one is pretty terrifying. 'Cause that kind of shows that they're probably not regular children pulling a prank, though. All right, so this is another story on this list. This is the final story on this list.
Yeah.
And it is titled Soon. Now this story is quite interesting, and you'll figure out why once I read it to you. I live in a big city in South British Columbia, and it is 11:52 here as I type this. I had just got home from The Conjuring, and it was scary, let me tell ya.
Oh yeah, that movie was good.
The Conjuring? Is that the one with the Annabelle?
Yeah, no, well, yes and no. It's the same universe.
Okay, so it is pretty scary.
Yeah.
So he just came back from watching a scary movie, and he says, I was lurking on a Reddit creepy, and he heard a knock on the door. I walked over confused because I live alone, and I live in the wild, he says. He lives in the wilderness.
The wild.
In the wilderness. As I approached the door, I felt pure terror. The feeling you get when you feel like death is imminent. What's the word? Pronounce the word.
A nemesis?
No, it's going to happen for sure.
Inevitable?
Yeah. When I opened the door, I was shaking madly. I was staring into the face of a 6'3" teenage girl. She was still 4 inches.
That's tall.
Yeah, very tall.
For a female, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be sexist or anything. That's tall.
Yeah. So 6'3" is tall. And the writer says, she was still 4 inches shorter than me, but I felt like I was about to faint.
Sorry, but how tall is this dude?
So he'd be 6'7".
Are we talking about like an NBA player here?
Probably.
Like,
Probably. So she was still 4 inches shorter than me, but I felt like I was about to faint. She asked if she could enter the premises because her mom had left town and she lost her keys. She claimed that she needed a couch to sleep on and was cold. I blinked and screamed bloody murder, slamming the door in her face.
Okay,
now this
wait.
is just funny. So like picture this 6'7" tall guy
Screaming!
and slamming a door in a teenager's face.
I would have drop kicked that kid. Okay, I'm kidding.
Probably wouldn't because you're the
Yeah,
same height.
6'3".
Yeah, yeah.
No, she's taller than me. I'm like 6'1".
Oh God, yeah, you would. Yeah,
And
you wouldn't
I'm
have-
tall.
I ran into my room and grabbed my revolver.
Give it 2 new black eyes.
That's a little too far.
you
Anyways,
grabbed the gun.
having a revolver is illegal. And this is the most terrifying part of the story. When I woke up and looked outside, she was gone. But the word soon was scratched weakly into the door.
Oh, weekly, come on. You're 6'3". Put some oomph in it.
Okay. With that being said, that is all the stories I was planning on reading today. So if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below to be notified when I have new uploads. Like I said before, I post about ghosts, ghouls, anything creepy and cool.
Like me.
So,
I'm creepy and cool.
so if you like any of that stuff, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Also, when you're down there, make sure to hit the bell icon to be one of the first people notified when I have a new upload.
You need a bell. Are you... Mom! I'm doing a video!
Make sure to leave a comment down below whether or not Caleb should be in one of my videos next time, or if you never want to see him again.